Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming back to join us. Today, we have a very special story to share that will undoubtedly make you reflect on relationships and life decisions. Let's dive right in. It was a beautiful Friday evening. I had just come home after a long and stressful work week, looking forward to a relaxing weekend with my family. My wife was waiting for me, but unlike other times, she didn't greet me with a smile and a gentle kiss. She seemed anxious, as if preparing for an important conversation. What was going on? Hey, I have something to tell you, she began, looking down at the floor before meeting my gaze with earnest eyes. You need to listen to me and try to understand. I could feel the tension in the air, but I had no idea what was coming. What is it? Where are the kids? They're with Mom until Monday. John, I need to tell you something important. I hope you'll listen and try to understand. At this point, I'm sure many of you are wondering, what's going on? Is she hiding something? But what she said next was something no one could have expected. She looked at me, hesitation in her eyes. Honey, I need to tell you something difficult, but I can't keep it inside anymore. I want to try having sex with other men. Now, this is the part where I'm sure many of you would feel shocked. How could this happen? How could a wife say something like that to her husband? I couldn't believe my ears. I thought I had misheard her. What? What did you just say? I asked, unable to hide my surprise. She took a deep breath and continued. I love you more than anything, but I've never experienced what it's like with anyone else but you. I don't want to lie to you, but I feel like I need to do this to better understand myself. That's why I need your approval for this. So, what do you think? Could you understand where the wife is coming from? Could you accept this request and let her experiment? Or do you think there's another way to resolve this and save the relationship? I sat there in silence, thousands of thoughts racing through my mind. Yes, I'm a loving husband, but this was something I couldn't accept. I felt anger and disappointment surging within me. Ben, you have to understand, this isn't about us. You and I can still love each other, but I just need to try this once in my life, she explained. But I couldn't understand. I just couldn't. I got up and went to our bedroom, feeling like nothing was holding me together anymore. It felt as if my entire world had just collapsed in front of me. The question I want to ask you is, if you were in this situation, what would you do? After some thought, I decided to go outside to clear my mind. I used to be a marathon runner, and walking was the only way I could regain clarity in moments of chaos like this. As I stepped out, Kathy followed me. Ben, don't go. We need to talk, she called after me. But I couldn't turn back. I couldn't even look at her. She couldn't keep up, and I just kept walking. But could I keep going like this? Should I stop and try to find a way to solve the problem? What do you think of my decision? If it were you, what choice would you make? This story touches on a deeply sensitive issue in marriage, when difficult decisions have the power to change everything. After leaving the house, I kept walking, my heart heavy with emotion. The world around me blurred as I sank into my thoughts. My steps didn't falter, as if I were running away from my own feelings. How could I face her after what she had just said? It felt like everything I thought I knew about our relationship had come crashing down. As I wandered through the empty streets, her words echoed in my mind. She wanted to explore intimacy with someone else. How could I accept that? Could my love for her be strong enough to forgive something like this? Yet, a part of me couldn't help but feel sorry for her. Maybe she didn't fully understand herself, and this was just a phase she needed to go through to find clarity. But could I stand by and watch her seek fulfillment in someone else's arms? I kept walking in the rain, my mind a whirlwind of confusion. Time passed, yet no answers came. Night had fallen, but I still couldn't bring myself to go back home. I didn't want to face her. I couldn't comprehend why she would entertain such thoughts. We had a family, years of love between us, and now it all felt like a cruel joke. Eventually, I found myself at an empty park, sitting down on a cold bench. I tried to catch my breath and make sense of what had happened. By then, I wasn't even sure what I was searching for. All I knew was that I had to find a way to confront this situation. I couldn't keep running forever. She was my wife, and despite it all, I loved her, even if I couldn't understand why she wanted to throw everything away. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was a call from Kathy. I didn't want to answer, but I couldn't ignore her either. I hesitated before picking up, and her worried voice came through the line. Ben, I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I need you to understand me. Can you come home? I need you here with me. Her voice trembled, and I could hear the vulnerability in it. As angry as I was, I couldn't abandon her. After a moment of silence, I replied, Kathy, you said things that are hard for me to accept. Do you understand that? I don't know why you'd even have those thoughts. But I love you. I'll come home. I didn't know what would happen when I returned. Could we salvage this relationship? Could I truly forgive her? Would we ever find our way back to love? Or would this be the breaking point of our marriage? When I got home, she was standing at the door, her eyes red from crying. As I stepped closer, she reached out and wrapped her arms around me gently. I love you so much, she whispered. I won't do anything to hurt you again. I promise. We'll work through this together. The story wasn't over, and I knew there would be many challenges ahead. But I couldn't deny that we had crossed a significant threshold. We might not be perfect, but perhaps love could guide us back to where we needed to be. What about you? What would you do in a situation like this? I felt a cold wind brush past me as I stepped outside. My thoughts a chaotic storm I couldn't escape. I had no idea what to do next. Kathy, my wife, the person I love most, had said something today that made me question everything I thought I knew about us. How could I accept a request? How could I look my children in the eyes and pretend everything was okay? While I stood there, lost in a whirlwind of emotions, my phone vibrated. A message. It was from an unknown number. I opened it without thinking much. The message was simple, yet it hit me like a freight train. I know what she's doing, and you need to know the truth. Don't let blind love lead you to a mistake. I read the message over and over, trying to make sense of it. Who sent this? How did they know about Kathy? What could they possibly know that I didn't? A shiver ran down my spine. Something was very wrong. I immediately called the number, but there was no answer. I didn't know what to think, but an unsettling feeling took root in my chest. This wasn't just about Kathy anymore. It felt like there was more to this than I could comprehend. After a while, I went back inside, my mind racing with questions. Kathy was still sitting there, her face lined with worry. She didn't look at me as I entered. Everything seemed normal, yet nothing felt normal anymore. What's wrong, Ben? Kathy asked, her voice shaky. I couldn't hide the suspicion in my eyes. I got a message. I said, my tone firm. Someone told me I need to know the truth. They know about you. Is there something you're not telling me? Kathy stood up, but she wasn't her usual composed self. She took a step back, her face pale. Ben, I don't know who sent that message, but I swear to you, I'm not hiding anything. I never wanted to hurt you, but if something's happening, you need to talk to me first. I could sense the unease in her voice, but I couldn't ignore what I had just read. It felt as if a hidden door had been cracked open, and I couldn't look away. Was she hiding something even bigger than what I already knew? So what's going on between us? I asked, my voice trembling with anger. What does it mean when you say you want to experiment with someone else? Don't tell me you haven't thought about this. How can I trust you if you're keeping something important from me? We stared at each other, Kathy's eyes filled with fear, but there was also something different. It felt like I had crossed a line we couldn't return from. Kathy opened her mouth to speak, then stopped. She looked down, her expression sorrowful, and then suddenly met my gaze with a look I'd never seen before. Ben, Kathy began, her voice soft but laced with suppressed emotion. It's not just about wanting to try something new. I've met someone. I've already started a relationship with him. Her words hit me like a knife to the heart. I stood there, unable to speak. So this wasn't just a vague request. She had already acted on it, and I had no idea what to do. Who is he? When? Why didn't you tell me? I yelled, unable to contain my anger. Kathy, how could you do this to me? Did you ever love me? Kathy lowered her head, guilt evident in her eyes. I never wanted to hurt you, but I couldn't keep living a lie. It's Alistair, your boss. Her words felt like a thunderclap. Alistair? My friend, my colleague, someone I considered family? I couldn't believe it. Suddenly, everything felt twisted, as if the trust and honesty I valued were nothing but illusions. But the story didn't end there. Just as I was drowning in disbelief and anger, my phone buzzed again. Another message. He knows everything. Everything will fall apart if you don't act now. The question echoing in my mind now was, how do I face this truth? And is there any way to save this before it's too late? What do you think? Can this relationship be salvaged? Or has it already gone beyond the point of no return? Share your thoughts in the comments. I truly need your advice. When I received that message, it felt as if the ground beneath me had crumbled. I couldn't comprehend what was happening. Everything seemed to shatter before my eyes. The pieces of my life that I had once trusted and cherished had now become a chaotic mess. Alistair, the man I had called a friend, a colleague, someone I had worked alongside for years, turned out to be the person Kathy, my wife, had begun a secret relationship with. I felt betrayed from every angle. Pain, anger, shame, and despair intertwined in a way that left me paralyzed. In that moment, all I wanted to do was scream, to break everything around me. But I didn't. I knew that kind of outburst wouldn't fix anything. It would only leave me more lost. Kathy stood before me, her face marked by guilt and anguish. Yet, it wasn't the look of someone worried about the pain they'd caused me. She seemed to be searching for a way out, a reason that could make me understand and forgive her. But the truth was, I didn't know how to confront any of this. I didn't know if forgiveness was even possible, or if this relationship could ever be repaired. Ben, I'm sorry, Kathy finally said, her voice trembling. I don't know how to explain what I'm feeling. I love you, but I can't keep living like this. I need something different. She tried to explain, but the words seemed to choke in her throat. I stood there, my fists clenched tightly. I wanted to ask her, does this relationship mean anything to you? Do you truly love me? Or are you simply chasing a new life? A fleeting thrill? These questions spiraled in my mind endlessly, and I couldn't find the answers. After a moment of silence, I turned and walked outside, unable to look at Kathy anymore. I didn't know what I was doing, but I needed space to breathe, to escape the suffocating tension. It felt like I was standing at a crossroads with no idea which path to take. As I stepped outside, I paused briefly, looking up at the sky. The night was calm, the bright moon shining above like a reminder that no matter how dark it gets, there's always a light to guide the way. But could I find that light amidst this darkness? I kept walking, aimlessly, just trying to quiet my mind. But in the stillness of the night, I suddenly heard hurried footsteps behind me. It was Kathy. Ben, don't go, she called, her voice filled with regret. I stopped, but didn't turn to face her. The pain I felt was like a knife twisting in my heart. Kathy, do you really think everything can just be okay after what you've done? You've hurt me in a way I can't even begin to describe, and I don't know if I can ever forgive you. Kathy stood there, tears streaming down her face, unsure of what to do. I didn't mean to hurt you, Ben. I was wrong, but I lost myself in this relationship, and I thought I needed to find who I really am. At that moment, I couldn't think clearly anymore. Everything around me felt blurred, except the sound of the wind and the heavy breathing from both of us. Maybe we needed time to reflect, to understand if there was anything left to save. I need time, I said, my voice hoarse. I can't make a decision right now. I need to think about everything that's happened. Kathy nodded, seemingly grasping the gravity of the situation. You can take all the time you need, Ben. I'll be here if you need me. I walked away, but this time, I didn't feel as lost. I felt like I had begun a new journey. A journey without clear answers, without guarantees, but one I knew I had to take no matter how difficult it would be. And now, I want to ask all of you once more. If you were in my situation, what would you do? Can this relationship be saved, or is it too late? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I truly need your advice. No matter the answer, I know the journey toward truth and forgiveness is far from over. After leaving the house, I drove aimlessly, without a destination in mind. All night, I wandered the streets, letting dark thoughts cloud my mind. Did Kathy truly love me? If she did, why would she choose this path? Was this just a fleeting storm of emotions that would eventually pass? Or was it a sign that our marriage had irreparably changed? Each question felt like a knife twisting in my heart, making it almost unbearable. I wanted to believe that Kathy would return to me out of love and loyalty. But was that a blind hope? Was I simply lying to myself, crafting a beautiful story to mask the pain? I stopped at a roadside cafe, almost on autopilot, stepping out of the car and walking inside. The cafe was quiet at this late hour, with only a few people sitting silently, engrossed in books or work. I ordered a black coffee, sat in a corner, and stared out the window. The blurry clouds and city lights reflected in my eyes, but all I could see was Kathy and Alistair. As I drowned in my thoughts, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Kathy. "Ben, can you try to understand me? I don't want to lose you. I really don't. I know I was wrong, but I hope you'll give me a chance to explain. I still love you." Her words cut into me like a fresh wound. My heart was overwhelmed by a mix of anger and pity. How could she claim to love me while choosing to betray me? How could I even begin to forgive her when the trust between us had been utterly shattered? I put my phone down and leaned back in my chair, closing my eyes, searching for answers within myself. This feeling, this chaos of confusion and pain, was something I couldn't ignore, yet couldn't fully face either. Despite everything, I felt like I needed to act. Whether it was to seek clarity or simply find some peace of mind, I knew I couldn't keep running away. At that moment, one thing became clear. I had to confront the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The next morning, I returned home. Kathy was there, waiting for me, her eyes red and her face full of remorse. All her pride was gone, replaced by vulnerability and hope. "I need to hear everything from you," I said, my voice hoarse. Kathy nodded, her hands trembling. "Ben, I never wanted to deceive you. I've changed. I felt like I was losing myself in this relationship. There were feelings I've never experienced before, needs I couldn't understand, and I thought I had to explore them to find myself again. But I promise you, I still love you, and I don't want to lose you." I listened silently, not interrupting her. Everything felt like it was happening too fast, but I couldn't turn away. I needed to understand, to be certain before deciding whether to continue or let go. "Kathy, do you realize that by saying this, you've destroyed everything?" I said after a long pause. Our relationship wasn't just about the happy moments. It was about trust, about a commitment that shouldn't have been broken. Kathy lowered her head, tears streaming down her face. "I know, Ben. I know I hurt you. But I didn't know what else to do when these feelings became uncontrollable. I couldn't keep living like that. I felt like I was slowly dying in our marriage." Her words made the storm inside me calm down, even if just slightly. Was this the truth? Was this an honest plea from a wife trying to rediscover herself? Or just an excuse to cover up mistakes that couldn't be forgiven? I looked into Kathy's eyes, saying nothing, letting the silence speak. I knew I couldn't decide in that moment. I needed time to think, to confront the unanswered questions swirling in my mind. "After everything you've said, do you think we can ever go back to the way things were?" I asked, my voice gentle but firm. Kathy met my gaze, nodding. "I hope so, Ben. I really hope so. This story isn't over, and I know I'll have to face some of the biggest decisions of my life. Will there be forgiveness? Can I ever trust someone who's let me down so deeply? Do you believe love can overcome challenges like this? Or are we simply clinging to illusions? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I truly need your advice. No matter the outcome, I know this journey toward truth and forgiveness is just beginning. After countless hours of deep contemplation, I finally made a decision. I returned home and sat down with Kathy, facing her once again. The atmosphere was silent, with nothing but the sound of my heartbeat echoing in my chest. We looked at each other, and this time, I no longer felt anger or disappointment. What remained was an emptiness and an inevitable question. Can we start over? Kathy looked at me, her eyes filled with hope and fear. I took a deep breath and said, "Kathy, I've thought long and hard about what you said, and I've asked myself, can love survive mistakes? And can we forgive? I'm not entirely sure, but I do know one thing. I can't lose you. Marriage isn't always perfect, and we all make mistakes. But what matters is how we fix them and learn to love each other again. Kathy choked back tears, lowering her head as drops fell onto the table. You're really forgiving me? I nodded, smiling gently. I'm not forgiving you just because you're my wife. I'm forgiving you because I love you and I believe we can start fresh. Let the past be the past, and let's rebuild from what's left. We embraced in silence. It felt like the wounds in my heart were healing. Not because everything had returned to how it once was, but because we had rediscovered mutual understanding and respect. Our relationship wouldn't be an easy journey, but I believe that as long as we stayed by each other's side and were honest with one another, every hardship would be just a small challenge. The next day, Kathy and I visited a marriage counselor. We began anew, learning to communicate, to forgive, and to love each other again. Months passed, and we realized our relationship had become stronger than ever before. We didn't dwell on the past, but instead built a new future together, where both of us felt loved and appreciated. In the end, I want to share this with all of you. Life isn't always smooth. We all face challenges, mistakes, and difficult decisions. But if we have enough patience, love, and forgiveness, there's nothing we can't overcome. To everyone watching, I hope this story helps you reflect on your own relationships and realize that no matter how tough things may get, love and understanding can guide us through it all. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you found this story meaningful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any upcoming videos. Also, share your thoughts in the comments below. I deeply value all your opinions. Wishing you a wonderful day, and may love always light your way, no matter the circumstances. See you in the next story. Thank you all so much.